Hello, everyone, and welcome. I just came back from GameStop. I got that new Capcom collection. It was at a nice new reduced price of $29.99. Lowest yet, my friends. Anyway, I'll stop holding out to my corporation and let's get talking about some subject matters today. So today, we have a few past, recent, new things and that. So let's get to it. First, I'd love to throw my 2 cents in about FromSoft. Now, you might have heard that Sony might be buying FromSoft, or aka Katakara, who owns FromSoft, who bought FromSoft. And Katakara, if you're not familiar with them any, is a huge manga publisher who broke into, well, anime and video games on the side while rising in that. And now they are a big publishing hand. And if Sony was to buy them, well, fuck, they would basically have the anime manga market in their fucking pocket along with FromSoft. Now, in the subject matter of anime and manga, yes, them buying them would essentially make them a monopoly. But, you know, when's that stop the government from actually, you know, doing anything? So, hopefully that don't happen, because they're all way too much of a fucking monopoly in the industry at this point now. They've already bought up too much fucking crap. Last thing they need is more. And on the subject matter of FromSoft, no. No, 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 no. Now look, I get it. Sony bought, like, they paid to have them make Demon Souls. Now, the arguments the yay crowd has is, oh, well, you know, they were there, they backed them up for Demon Souls and that. Well, you clearly don't know jack shit about Demon Souls history if that's your yay reason for Sony needing to buy FromSoft. No, they want to buy FromSoft because they're fucking money. They have admitted multiple times they were stupid in recognizing that FromSoft was a cash cow because they viewed Demon Souls as a failure. Demon Souls wasn't even going to get a Western localization. Atlas got that for the America, and Bandai did it for Europe. Sony had no interest of publishing it in here because they viewed it as a fucking failure. The idea of Demon Souls was to counter Elder Scrolls Oblivion, to get their own giant open world kind of thing on their system. And as you can see, it didn't turn out how they quite wanted. And considering that it had very poor reception when shown off, Sony had no faith in it. They just kind of spat out, hoped to get some money, and then sweep it under the rug. That goes for Atlas and Bandai. Now, I think Bandai, now I'm not very familiar with the European side of the Demon Souls, so feel free to fill me in on that if you happen to be someone who actually was alive and playing it back then when it came out in Europe. I'd love to understand that side a little bit. But I think that came to be after Atlas found success with it. And of course it boomed, and here we are. Now the dude is in charge of fucking FromSoft and stuff, you know. But yeah, Sony buying him is purely for what is simply profit. They want to hold that onto them. Now, admittedly, you know, it was pretty resident with the Sony brand, but really, Bloodborne and Demon Souls are the only ones that are exclusive. And, you know, get more exclusives, you get more console sold. Now, of course, we live in a strange era where there's starting to be more crossover with each other's platforms for additional funds and that. And right now, like the rumor is, Microsoft's going to be launching some more titles this year on the PS5, which will be interesting to see, because this kind of shit was pretty incredibly unheard of in the day. you had the very few whale cases like the Banjo-Kazooie kart game on the GBA when Microsoft technically owned it at that point. You know, there were a few little whale cases, but they were not common like they're all being today. Because, well, they needs the monies. Because they don't know how to set a fucking budget at all. And we've talked about that shit enough. But yeah, for the love of humanity, Sony, don't. Of course, they will if they can. If they can, they will. It's more power for them and a big IP. Big IP for them. I mean, FromSoft's considered one of the last crusading companies that actually make good shit that doesn't nickel and dime you. And man, when FromSoft goes down the drain one day, if ever, it'll be sad. It's always making me want to cry seeing how Atlas is these days. Moving on, though. We've covered the recent Neptunia issue. Now, in the time of that video, I have went and backed and looked and looked and looked, and I have indeed found those posts that one of the PR people for Eastsoft, who has a lot of their company has a lot of work with PlayAsia for physical releases. Now, I could not get a comment from him. I have DM'd him and at him, and he would not respond to me. I wanted to actually, get some actual direct statements back and forth between me and him. He wouldn't talk to me. So, but I did find his posts on the subject matter of this. So, he did confirm in those posts that they did indeed have trouble with the one JRPG that PlayAsia did recently being put on Asian Nintendo Switch, let alone anywhere else in the region digitally. So, that seems to really confirm there is some kind of issue going on here, especially when it's happening in the Asian territory outside the Western world that you would think they wouldn't need to really fucking give a shit about. Stupid crap. So, yeah, a little concerning. Sadly, other than that, not really anything new. The DLC thing for the game, the spin-off racing, it's like some kind of racing game or something. I'm not too familiar with it. At least the cover has the character on a bike or that. I heard the game was kinda get on a sale kind of thing, if you catch my drift. Now, that game is apparently going to have DLC. I think I mentioned it in the last video, but just in case I didn't, it's going to have this swimsuit DLC that's canceled for the Switch, but it's A-OK on Sony, which is both concerning, obviously, for a Nintendo side of things, but a little okay for the Sony side, because Sony has been showing signs of being a lot more lenient with this stuff again, which is good, because that's what they should be doing. It's not their job to push people around about what the fuck they can put in their games. That's what the waiting board's for, you dumbasses. Not that the waiting board's any good. So, they kind of throws that one guy's thing about fucking blaming the waiting board and shit kind of down the water at this point, I'd say. So, while there hasn't been any new drama in the space of games being blocked or anything on the Switch, imagining they could be keeping a low profile after what's happened, or just nothing has piqued their interest in doing that too. But we'll keep an eye out for any new things in that regard. Moving on. Speaking of corporate things, Square Enix is potentially threatening to sue people. So, I'm going to be a little devil's advocate, because I know some people have already spouted out really harshly at this. I understand there are dementally weird people out there on the internet with no lives who dox, stalk, and say truly horrible things. Now, all these people we categorize in different ways. aspects. Obviously, the people who talk the talk but don't walk the walk, people say, you know, you can just block them and ignore the fuck out of them. Like, yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways of doing that kind of stuff. Now, the people who are actually doing credible threats or actually doxing or going into real life aspects of things, now that I understand taking legal precedence about. Because honestly, some of this shit's getting way out of hand, and I really think some of these people really do need to get punished. You know, things like Gamergate get a bad name from assholes like this, be it people who are actually in the movement or people who are faking being in the movement, trying to make the movement look bad because there's not real repercussions for them. I'd rather these type of people who actually do real world harm or real credible threats or actually doing real world things to people actually do get punished. So, like, that I'm okay with, and I kind of understand. But, yeah, you know, people who are just talking shit on the internet and stuff, yeah, just block and move on. Like, you're paying too much attention to that kind of shit. But, yeah, like, I understand. I really do understand. There are some weird fucking people out there who are weirdly obsessed with people and shit. They're out there and they exist, and I can't necessarily blame Wayne to actually do something about those people. But yeah, when it comes to like criticism or just saying bullshit on Twitter or something, if you don't like it, block it. That's what the block feature is for. You don't, like, there was this concern that it's going to affect criticism, and I understand that full heart. If it does, then yes, this is not a good thing. If you're going to affect critics reviewing and stuff, like, yeah, that is not a good thing, Square Enix. No. Just stick to the people who are doing real world harm, doxing, or doing credible threats. Sue those people or whatever, and leave the big mouth, loud mouth, or the kind of crude reviewers alone, because that's just talk at the end of the day, and that will go. So, this is new, so we'll have to see what Square Enix ends up doing with this. Again, like I said, hopefully they just actually target people who are deserving and are actually horrible people. But we'll see. Now, of course, the big news of the week is the Switch 2, which we know almost literally nothing about. We got to see a supposed mock-up of the final draft. Subject, though, I say that all the time in these kind of cases, subject to possibly change in some ways. We've seen it before with stuff, so it's not guaranteed to probably look 100% like that on launch, but that's probably a rough idea if not the final design. Now, this video that Nintendo put out was hugely spoiled and leaked and everything, and just, it was a mess of a reveal because leakers. Nintendo has this horrible problem with leakers, and they are religiously trying to hunt these people down so desperately. So desperately. And I do kind of understand they fucking keep ruining a lot of things. Let alone the people who are leaking those games on the interwebs. How are we supposed to get sales at GameStop when people can just download them? Damn it. Get those damn leakers. Anyway. But, of course, Nintendo's not exactly everyone's friend either, you know. Corporations are never your friend. They must always be kept in order. Now, moving away from the leaking thing, the Switch 2, it looks like a Switch with a few, like, different ways that the Joy-Con connects to the side. Big whoop-de-doo. As I always say, it's about the games. If you don't have good games, I don't give a fuck about your damn console. And, you know, if your console ain't good to begin with, then, you know, that's just another point. I'm not a big secret that I'm not a big Switch fan. I have two big problems with the Switch. One, it's a 50-50 on whether you're getting a competent build of the game. Sometimes the build is broken and very horrible. And other times, there are other occasions where it's a very competent and very rare times, superior version to the other consoles. I would just want a nice working game that isn't fucking broken. And we, looking at some of the Pokemon entries that we've had on the Switch, kind of makes my concerns of how I am with a lot of games on the Switch when it comes between having the option between the Sony platform and the Switch. Now, hopefully the Switch 2 will have a lot less problems in that regard, I hope. I really hope. But we don't really know any games other than a Mario Kart game. I'm not a big racer, so personally, not a hype to me, but understandable. Big Mario Kart person, Yahoo, new Mario Kart. But I would have loved to actually seen at least a variety of games. No games, I don't really have any interest. The internet's going crazy for this thing, and nobody virtually knows anything coming out for the fucking thing. Now, admittedly, Nintendo's always had good games on the consoles. They kind of vary on how much good games, because things like the Wii U and the Nintendo 64, for example, suffer from Nintendo-only third-party wear. By that, I mean there ain't a lot of good third-party games on those consoles, is basically what I mean. Now, the Switch and the Wii have had lots of support on them, for example. But, in the Switch's case, like I said, a lot of subjective, how should I say, games running well on them or not. So, that would be my big concern with the Switch 2. Please have your games better optimized and working and shit instead of launching as broken shite. That's what I would like to see more on the Switch 2. Till we get more of that, which is supposedly going to be happening in April, there's not really much else about the Switch 2 there. And then, of course, new news on our Lord and Savior, the Stop Killing Games. GameStop loves this movement. Why wouldn't we? Of course we want games to live on in physical form and ownership. That's how we do business, after all. Stop Killing Games has a new plan thrown out for the UK residents. If you live in the UK, they have a single permit, a government thing to sign on the website. I will have a link down below for you to click that if you wish to sign it. You will sign it, right? Now, it's currently at 11,061 signatures, which will get the government to respond to the petition. Now, if they get 100,000, it will be considered for a debate in Parliament in the UK. These are very good. So we've already got first goal done. 100,000, work towards it, people. You live in the UK, sign up. You have a chance to make a difference in the game industry. We don't want games to die. We want them to live. We want you to own them and have rights. And, maybe trade them in this occasionally, But, of course, it is an important matter. We don't want these things to die. On a serious note, I am actually serious, of course, that this is a fundamental point to potentially change the industry for the better. We've had tons of games who've lived and died within a week to a year come out from $30 to $60 to $70 and get shut down and have consumers shafted. This is a chance to make real change, to make your products have some kind of continuance plan to be able to still be enjoyed and hold people responsible for these kind of things. After all, a lot of people think what happened with Concord, because Sony actually gave refunds for Concord, which was really mind-boggling at the time. But when you think about it, perhaps they were doing it out of maybe potential fear that Stop Killing Games could catch ground and it could bite them in the ass in the future. So maybe they just thought of doing away with it so it's not something that follows them if something were to happen. But anyway, that's it for today's news of things to be and things that have happened. What do you think about the Switch 2, by the way? I'd love to hear your thoughts on its actual design. Personally, to me, I'm not really a big person on design. I just want to work and not be inconvenient. So I can live with it as long as as long as the games work on it. But anyway, don't forget, if you live in the UK, sign the Stop Killing Games petition. I'll have a link down below, along with the video about that particular update from our host of Stop Killing Games. Anyway, take it easy. Thank you for joining. And until next time, enjoy the scenery of your lovely city. Always remember, Big Bang Burger is out there 24 hours, just like a McDonald's.